it's really hard not to take it personal when your game group doesn't put in as much effort into the game that you as the dungeon master put in. I mean, it can get it can get downright frustrating. And I'm talking about a game group that's made up of mostly family and friends of mine. I can't imagine what it feels like to try and do this thing for strangers and notice the disparate relationship of efforts between the dungeon master and the players. I'm at a stage of frustration with my players. Some of them have other things they want to be doing at the time of the game. Some of them are making plans on our game night and either showing up late or needing to leave early. In some cases it's, like work related, so you can't really be mad at that. But when those work related things compile with other things, it starts to take shape. Like something forms in all the different calamities that are occurring. And again, we are talking about like a game. It seems silly to make a big deal about this. It seems silly to make an issue at all about game night. But it is a social group. And so we are talking about making relationships, friendships. As I've mentioned in previous videos, it's very easy for one of these game groups to turn into a group of friends. I've experienced that, where I started just playing a game with someone, and then we started talking politics, and then that relationship ended. But that's not the point. It's easy for this social hobby to feel just like a friendship, and who knows, maybe it is, right? I mean, I guess you start getting into like the definitional nature of friendship as a word to try and figure out whether or not, like, are we talking about real friendships or game friendships? I don't know. At some point it feels like semantics. I'm playing a game with you, and so I kind of have some expectations about how the engagement will work because I'm going to treat you like a friend. Like in some cases I'm even inviting you into my house or you're inviting me into your house. So there's an aspect of this relationship that feels like a friendship, which means that it has to involve direct conversations. And in some ways, I recognize that I have been skipping out on that direct conversation aspect, where I have players that are either partially participating or partially showing up. And again, like in a case-by-case scenario, it's just like, okay, one thing here, one thing there. It's these one little things that stand out. But it flavors itself, or it manifests itself into something that feels like despondence. I don't mean to speak with gravitas or like hyperbole, but like I've been feeling the sort of hopeless nature of our game night almost all day, even in my preparation. Obviously, there's other things going on, so that compounds things even further. And when you add that to it, there's a point where me, as a game master, go, why are we having the game? Maybe there's other things I should be doing with time. Maybe I should go look for a different game group. That, of course, makes things feel even worse because now I'm talking about going, let's cancel this thing. That's, like Cartman from South Park, that's it, party's over. I pull the party off switch, and I don't want to do that, right? And in my case with a family game, it feels even more like some sort of sense of failure because now I couldn't keep family time together. And I'm sitting here talking with my wife and my son and going, maybe we should be doing something else. That's further compounding the hopelessness. I don't know if I have a clear way out, and I don't think I even have a question, but I know that there's going to be people saying like, oh, take a break, right? Take a break, pause, come back to it later. No, I'm not going to take a break. I'm going to try and muscle through it. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, taking baby steps going forward, trying to piece it together. And in some ways, there might be just a disparate relationship that feels like a job almost. But maybe there's a direct conversation that I can have. Maybe, in some way I can try and approach this thing and explain the feeling. Explain the culmination of different things that's got me to a place where I'm like, look, I just don't know if I care. That's probably what I'm going to do, although that on its face doesn't feel good, right? Like at least in premise, and that's kind of what I'm presupposing, that the eventuality, for example, tonight, that I come to a conversation with my players and say, hey, some of you guys have been showing up late. Some of you guys have been leaving early. Some of you guys have been doodling and drawing and being on your phones or whatever. And those are extreme examples. But the point is that's all accumulated or congealed into something that feels like our gaming group has like the social relationship has dissolved, because this thing that is kind of like a friendship feels like I'm putting in more than you all are. And I know that's not quite right, because people are bringing snacks and sometimes people are bringing food and sometimes people are bringing their best effort. But there is an aspect of unequal output, right? Or unequal input, something like that. And aside from having a direct conversation, I really don't know what other route to take, because I don't want to keep, laying in the saltiness or feeling like I just want our game group to end. That's not a good place to be. So I guess my point of making this video was simply to establish that I kind of understand why game groups would end. There was a part of me like going into this where I'm like, okay, I can see the edge of it. I can see the edge of that thing where a DM just goes, that's it, I'm done. And I can see that coming, but now I've got there myself. And I've had a whole day where I've been kind of getting ready to prepare for the game. And in the back of my mind, I know that 2 players are barely going to be showing up because they're on a different time zone. And so either they'll be late or they'll be getting off early or something will be going on. My son would sort of rather be playing video games. My wife is going to be tired, so it's going to be me and my friend from Thailand and maybe my son's friend who are going to be trying to engage, and everything else is going to feel stilted or filtered. That's frustrating. That's frustrating going into, and like, obviously I could be wrong. I could show up and be totally surprised by it, but there's been a week in and week out effect that sort of left me with a sense of how things are going to go based on how things have been. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is a strange congealing effort that kind of mounts into something insurpassable, where you're trying to hope into hopelessness. And again, it makes it even worse that it's for a game. So we're doing this for a tabletop RPG to try and have a fun relationship. Makes it even more spellbinding, because at the end of the day, I'm like, this feels like I'm talking about some sort of life and death thing. Like, I just coded a patient on my shift. It's not. I'm trying to plan the Manticore dungeon, and I'm sad and, just feeling drained because the effort put in by not a majority, but a grouping of my players at different times has left me with this why bother feeling. Anyways, the point of this video was to try and speak encouragement into you as a dungeon master, as I am lacking it in myself. And I'm not fishing for it here. I'm not, give me some encouragement. I'm not fishing for it. I'm just saying, like, again, I can't, if I haven't said it already, like, I can't imagine trying to do this for people who are strangers. In my case, the failure of our game group is not a besmirchment, but it's a stain to some degree, where I'm like, oh my goodness, as a father and a husband and a friend, I have failed by not being able to keep this Saturday thing going. Even if it requires effort and energy from me that I don't have, it's something that I need to do. Like, I need to do it because I sense it's good for us. It's good for me to try and wrestle with my hubris and my pride and my desire to, like, do a job that I get thanked for every time. And it's good for my players to put aside some of their energies to try and work socially with a group of people that they normally don't engage with. And in some cases, like, this might be, like, my friend in Thailand, this might be the only way he interacts with people from the United States, like, ever, right? So there are, then there's the side of my kids, where it's like, this is a good experience for my kids to engage with, even if they forget week in and week out how much they enjoy playing these games and how much they'd probably rather play this than a video game. I think that's true. I'm not just projecting. Again, there's reasons to put in this effort, even when it feels kind of hopeless and disparate. But again, my point of doing this was to say, I get it, and I think I totally would get it even more if I were doing this for a group of people that weren't friends and family. But given that this is a group of friends and family, there's a part of me that goes, well, I have to make this work. I should definitely try to make this work. and not lean into the part of me that goes, why bother? If these were not friends and family, I've already experienced that why bother effect. I've experienced it where I sort of made friends with a person and they canceled the game because of my differing politics. And I've also had that same experience with a game group I was in where it just kind of fizzled out. And I think everyone was okay that it fizzled out. Differences in personality, generally. This was a rant. I don't know that I have a focused point to this, but at least I understand why game groups fizzle out. I think it's a good thing for a dungeon master to get to that point where they understand that, and I didn't previously. Like, I hadn't gotten to that place of like, I keep saying it, why bother? And now I feel like I'm there, and the answer is because I have to. I know that sounds stupid. Because I have to for my friends and my family, and maybe they have to for me. It's not quite as satisfying an answer as I thought I was going to come to by the end of this. But I guess it's what I have for the moment. Maybe with more time I'll think about this and come up with the answer of why bother. Let me know what you think. I don't know if you've come to that place where you're like, why would I bother with this group? What did you learn? When you had more time and effort to put into it, what came to you? What was the reason that you bothered? Assuming that you bothered, and in the cases that you didn't, what was that threshold that you crossed? So if you ever got to a place where you had to ask yourself the question, why bother? Why did you bother, or why did you not? Let me know. I'd be curious. God bless you. Wish me luck. Pray for me. We're talking about games, obviously, so it's not like super serious stuff. But God bless you. Have a good night.